Hi, welcome back to Dogwood Paper Arts with Angela Thoma. Nice to have you back, and we are working on the front of the album. So let's get started on that. We left off, we had this side, it was turned around then, applied, and I told you that I would go ahead and do this side once this one was dry because we had to paper clip it. And then I did put these under this glass and flatten them out overnight. And everything looks pretty good. I probably could have gotten this little corner a little bit closer, but I think it was due to that ribbon that I put on there. But I think it's going to be okay. It's not how I would have favored it being, for sure. Can you see what I'm talking about there? Right there. So I should have brought that in, just that 1/16 of an inch there. So it would be nice and even like the other three are. But there's nothing I can do about that now. I mean, if I take it off, it's going to tear the whole thing, and it's really not enough to notice a whole lot. It is on the front of the album. Oh no, it's at the back. It's at the back of the album, because this is the top. Yeah, it's at the back of the album. It's not going to be seen very much. Not like it would be if this was sitting on a table for people to view. Okay, so both are glued on. The book works great. It lines up both directions. Let's see, that might be off slightly, but it's because that one is off just a little bit. But it stands up good, and once it's got a tie on it, it'll be better. So I measured between these two pieces, and I drew with a pencil some light lines in there at 15 16ths of an inch. That's so that I can put my book plate on. This is a Tim Holtz book plate, and what I put in there was some vellum. Well, it's not even vellum, it's a colored acetate. This is what it looks like. I don't know if you can see that. So anyway, it's see-through. And it, I backed it with a pink paper. The same pink we've been using in the album. Okay, it is going to line up on these little points here on that pencil line that I drew. And once you're happy with where it's lined up at, hold it firmly and make your dots here in these little holes. Okay, now let's try this machine out. We are going to punch a 1/8 inch hole right on that We definitely want it to be centered. Okay, so I'm gonna have to look under here. It's kind of thick in there, so. Nope. Perfect. And we do want them to be very even, because if they're off, I'm going to have to punch another hole. Let's hope I don't have to punch any more holes. So far, so good. Okay, before we apply that, let's erase our pencil lines. I find these white erasers do work best, unless you get ink on them, and then they don't work. And by ink, I mean distressing ink. There we go. Okay, let's put our first piece through. I wonder if we should glue that. Oh, before I glue that, before I put that in, let me tell you. The acetate with the roses on it, I took a little tiny paintbrush like this. There we go. Little tiny tipped one, and I put my Fabri-Tac. I squirted some out on a piece of paper, and then there's a little lip inside of here, and I went around the little lip on the inside, and I put little tiny bits of glue in there, and then I glued in the acetate. It's got a little bit of stuff on the outside of it here. Then I cut another piece that was slightly bigger, but it didn't come to these holes. And I cut it to fit inside this little rectangular part that is here. And I glued that on with the Fabri-Tac as well. And that seems to be holding it in just fine. It does come off, the glue does come off the acetate, so I would assume it could come off of here if we let it. So I do think maybe I will apply a little glue under it. I don't want to put a lot, because I don't want it to squish out on here. I'm just using the tip to rub it around. Okay. Going to set that down. Going to hold that firmly there while I flip it over. Whoa, maybe not. And then I'm going to separate those little legs or wings, whatever you want to call them. Let me find I like to use the edge of this to put those down good. And I am really pushing them down into the cardboard here. Now let's do the other one. I look through a lot of things to look for words and different things like that to put in there. But it just, nothing fit like I wanted it to fit. So I ended up just using those little acetate flowers I had. Those came in a pack of Prima. There's little packs of Prima and they have different ephemera in them. So that's where those came from. And there we go. That's lovely. Looks good. Okay. So the next thing we have to do is figure out where our front center is. And I have this button that I would like to use as part of my closure. Now we don't want to apply the button right now, but we sure do want to punch a hole for it. Because if we don't, we're not going to have the opportunity to do so if we forget and want to do it later. Now these have this little shank under them, as it's a button, of course. But we will use wire to hook through that and to run through some other cardboard to lift it up a little bit. And it will sit right here. And then our ribbon that we're going to attach to the back page will be able to come around and tie here in a bow. I think. That is my thought process on how it's going to work. So let's find our centerpiece. Let's see, this measures little bit more than 8.5 apparently. Of course we do put paper on it and stuff, and so what, 4 1/4. There's our 4 1/4. Let's go over here and make another 4 1/4. And I am going to draw a line here that can be erased, so it's going to be a light one. Let's see now. We want to do the same thing over here because we want to be able to put our that won't reach, so I'll have to go here. Four 1/4. We want to be able to put our holes in the back so our ribbon lines up properly with our front closure. So just a light line. Okay. Now our button will need to come in. You know, I'd like to keep it away from the edge a little bit so that it doesn't catch on anything. So I think we're probably going to bring the shank in at about Oh, let me pull this off. It's getting in my way. One inch is a little too much. Let's move it down to 3/4 and see how that looks. Okay, so to measure this, I am just putting my 3/4 on the outside line, and then I am pushing the shank right up against the metal. So there's where 3/4 is. Right there. And I think probably 3/4 would be good. So I'll measure that in at 3/4 of an inch. And I'll draw my line right here. And right where these cross, that's where I want to put my 1/8 inch hole. Because this, we're going to put a wire around this through the shank and down through some couple layers of cardboard that's rounded to hold this up just slightly from the board. So let's go ahead and punch our hole. Now I haven't decided on the back yet if I'm going to run the ribbon in. Gotta line that up. This is a new tool for me, so this is really nice. I like this. And that's using the 1/8 inch. Okay, so that's going to give us a nice place. We could just insert that right down in there. However, that will not work. Now I do see, this is a button, remember? And I do see that one of the prongs is up on it. A little too far. If you have that, and you're using buttons, go ahead and check those and push them down if needed. Because they won't do you any good standing up. There it is. That means your pretties will fall out, and you don't want that. Be very gentle if it's got the crystals in it, so that you don't just check it very carefully. There's another one. I don't think they determined that these buttons would be going on mini albums, although for years people have used buttons for everything. I think I'll have to put on my magnifiers and just really check that over carefully. There's one right there. I do know you have to be gentle when you're putting the prongs back down. They do go down fairly easy on something like this, though. It was expensive for a button, for one button. There's one, right? You know, this takes time, I'm sorry, but we gotta do it. No, it's down. So it's out. Okay, I think we're good. So anyway, we still need to make some little circles. And I'm thinking I'm going to make them out of this thicker cardstock. And then I'll cover it with the same thing we use on the front. The other option would be to use like a stack of paper, let's see, that's score tape, glue dots, glue sticks, photo corners. What I'm looking for is my large. We could probably use a stack of these. I have one left. I think that would work. We would still have to cover it with we'd still have to cover it, and I'd have to make one of these round because they won't stay stuck together and they'll come off easy. But by using circles and wrapping them in paper or even Mod Podging them together with a napkin would work. The napkin would form to the paper, form to the sponges, and that would work really well. So, got a couple ideas there to think about. I'm going to put those, I'm going to put my button over there with those. Got to say all that. Okay, so we have our hole. We have on our book plate. Let's erase our pencil lines. Still have to think about how we're going to attach our ribbon from the back to come up and tie here. We have a couple of choices. We can punch a hole here and put the ribbon through it. And then we can do a tie on the back here and put it under the paper. And then it would just come out this hole. And then it would come around and tie together around the button. So, how shall we? How shall we? Shall we? We shall. Those are off a little bit. Look this way. I guess not. They're fine. I don't know what I was seeing. Something. I was seeing something, but I don't know what it was. Yeah, they line up. Okay. But we know we're going to need a hole punched back here, so I'm going to go ahead and punch that in. And we did 3/4 on the front, so we are going to do 3/4 on the back. Now we'll go ahead and punch the hole, but we won't finish it until we get the other paper on here and punch a hole there too. Now let's see. I do have another button I can put over that hole. We'll start with a 3/16 or a 1/8, but we may need to go to the 3/16 inch hole. Okay, so far so good, looking good. Okay, well, are you ready to dye some ribbon? I've been looking it over and I think we're going to go ahead and dye this, and we're going to make the beautiful double bow that I've seen so many album makers make. That will be more than long enough. Okay. So the first thing we need to do here is clean off our glass. Get all those little glue pieces off of there. And move our paper. We sure don't want it to get wet. And let's get our ribbon wet. And then the ribbon is going to have to dry before we finish up. Am I on camera? So you may have seen some of the other scrapbookers do this, or the mini album makers, or the junk journalers to dye their ribbon. I'm going to try that off. Make sure this isn't full of water. Okay, now I really like this color, but I know it's going to get lighter. So I'm going to rub it on here. Now this is the Tim Holtz, and this is the aged mahogany. So it could turn red or it could turn pink. We may add some more color to it. We'll definitely add more aged mahogany to it. I probably should have put on gloves, yes, but I didn't. Isn't that beautiful? Oh my gosh. Gonna wipe that up a little bit because I don't want to put a bunch of water into my ink pad. There we go. Isn't that pretty? Can you see that? So let's try it again, huh? Okay, here we go. Rub it all into itself. Are we getting some good color there? Getting some good color on my hands. And let's see. I think we'll go one more and then we'll compare it to the flowers. I mean, it's going to do well with some of the flowers I've got picked out for the front. No doubt about that. the pinks and greens. I probably should have done a green and a pink ribbon together, since I'm going to put some of those on there. A little bit of water. I do kind of like the modeling in it. Is that what you call it? When it's got a little here and a little there, darker here, lighter there. I don't know how I'll ever get it unknotted here. I need to call my daughter over. I've got a couple of daughters, but I need to call the one over that always taped everything and tied everything, and but you know what? You give her something and she could get a knot out. She could get a knot out of the tiniest chain. It was just amazing. There, okay. I know, I'm knotting it back up again, aren't I? See, I kind of like that, where it's deep right there. It just, you know, I want to be sure it looks good, though. I don't want it to look... I don't want it to look like I tried to make it do that. But it looks pretty. I mean, there is some of that throughout it. Okay, let me bring the paper over. So, oh, look at that. That's pretty good. What do you think? That'll work, won't it? Yep. There it is. And look at my lovely hands. Woohoo! Focus, you crazy thing. See? Ah! Okay. Well, we're going to let that dry for a little bit. And then I will dry it with my heat tool or hair dryer. We'll see which one. The heat tool would be faster, but it's a lot hotter. But I will do that. I'm going to just gently pile it up here so it can kind of dry on this glass for a little bit. Okay, I'm going to go wash up my hands and I will be right back. See you soon. Hi, Angie here with Dogwood Paper Arts. Okay, we are going to work on the cover today, and here was how this all turned out nice and dry. This is the second time I've made this video. The first time there was no sound on it. I forgot to turn the microphone on. So here we are again. I wanted to show you that I've already attached these punches. I started out with a layer of tiny punches. Was it this size underneath? Yeah. I started out with this size, and I don't know what size this is. Let's take a look. They are a 1/2 inch. That's a 1/2 inch punch. So I started out with 1/2 inch punches. Oh, wait. Yes, 1/2 inch. And I made a stack of, I think it was 6. And I glued them all together, and I used my punch to punch through the stack. And then I made a stack of 7. What is it? Is it 1 inch? No, 3/4 inch. I used a stack of 7 3/4 inch punches, glued them all together, and once again punched through them with a 1/8 inch hole. Then I put this wire through my shank on my button. Let me see if I can show you what I'm talking about. I only have one that size. The reason that I filled this hole in and built it up a little bit was so that it would sit away from the album, and then my ribbon can tie around it. But I put the little ones over the shank, and they just about covered it. So when I had it right, I went ahead and put a wire, took those all off, put a wire through, and then I put both my stacks on the button, on the shank. Then once the shank was all covered, I tested this to be sure it would still fit through the hole and that it would still have enough height to put my ribbon around it, my seam binding. Oh, here comes Libby. She's bringing me a package, I bet. What you got, Libby? Come on. Bring Mommy the mail. Oh, I got a package. Come here. Is that eBay? Oh, it is. Thank you. From the World of Books. Wow. World of Books. This looks like it might be for junk journaling. Let's have a peek. Since we're here together, let's peek at my mail. Oh, yes. The Oxford Book of Wildflowers. This is the one I've been waiting for. Let me take that out for a second. Oh, yes. Look at that. This is for my junk journaling. I know. It's a sin, isn't it, right? Cutting up a book. I got one the other day on birds. A really old one on birds. So, what else did Libby bring me? Oh my goodness. Some more stuff from eBay. It is old postcards that I'm getting ready to put on my Etsy site. I should see the stack of postcards I have. Whoops, I'm showing you addresses. I apologize. These will be going on my Etsy site. I'm a little late getting things up for Valentine's Day. So anyway, that's what the rest of these are. It's postcards. So let me put those up here so I can remember to give those people a thumbs up because they were fast. So anyway, I put my wire through my shank. Then I threaded the first layer of 1/2 inch rings down. I put glue on top of those, and then I threaded my stack of 3/4 inch circles over the wire. I don't know if we'll be able to see that. There we go. Underneath is a smaller stack, which you can't see. And this wire is it probably doesn't matter. 20 gauge. It's pretty heavy duty. So I wasn't going to put the front cover in this on yet, but in order to make it hidden on this side, we're going to have to go ahead and put this in now, and put our cover on first, of course. So I have cut a cover, and I did decide to go with this pattern. Oh, look at that, I got ink on the table. I had to I accidentally dipped my book into some pink ink sponge over there. So I had to go around it with some white pigment, and it's old pigment. It obviously is old. It gets everywhere. Okay, I'm trying to get a few of these flowers out of my way. Let me put them back in here. There. Okay, you too. All right. Put you away too. Okay. Whew. There. Okay. So let's ink up the edges of our front and our back covers. They're going to go like this and that. There we go. I did want to say on this spine binding that I use, it has a foam back on it, and it did absorb a lot of the glue. So the next time I use this kind of ribbon that has the foam on the back, I will only start with a small strip at a time, and I will really work that in with the glue. What I've noticed is that when it flattens out like this, is that there's a little air in there where it's not quite glued down. And I think what happened was the glue just got sucked up into the foam backing like a sponge. And it just didn't all glue down properly. So like I said, you know, this was a learning thing for me. I've never used this kind of ribbon. It's called ribbon. For the back, it's a faux leather, and I have put a link on it on my one of my other pages. I'll definitely, on one of my other videos, and I'll definitely put it on this one too, but that foam backing, I might have to look at it and see if you can peel it off, because I really love the pink pearl look of this for a binding, and I think it looks really nice. So for a cover. Anyway, so let's move on. Let's move on to here. I did decide to go with this. Might be a little too flowery, but I'm thinking maybe a word or something over here. Maybe a frame. I don't know. We'll get there. But let's just start here. We'll ink these up. Let me move that sticky white one. Move some of my wire. Put a pencil away. I have a mess here, everyone. Okay, I'm going to ink back here over my Well, let's do it this way so you can see what I'm doing. I'm going to ink over my pad. And then I did tell you that we're going to put the metal corners on these, the decorative metal. So I think that'll look really nice. I am inking on all four sides because they will show, even if I put ribbon up against this, as it'll still show because of the way we did the easy wrap binding. Okay. I'm excited about getting close to the end of this album. I have so many albums planned out, you know, and it's time. It's time. It's, you know, takes time to get there. It takes time to make each one, and I can never stick directly with the plan. So, anyway. It's all time. And yes, I know there's a hole there, and we will take care of that in a little bit. First, let's glue this down. I am going to use glitter glue. I really liked using the PVA. I didn't like how it kind of warped the board. I think perhaps the board needs to be pre-treated maybe with the gesso, but I don't really know. It's things I'll have to play with and see what I can come up with. Oh boy. I think maybe I will use that in the middle. But that means I have to have my brush. Where's my brush? Brush. I love this brush. It's so fun. That means I'll need some water to set my brush in. And what else does it mean? Means Angela needs to grab a wax paper. I'm going to have to put this closer to me, I guess. I'll grab a couple sheets. Because I'll obviously need more than one. A lot of people use score tape. I think it's fine as long as you're using like art glitter glue around the edge. I would also recommend if you're going to use score tape like on something like this that you get the sheets. I think they come in 8.5 by 11. You can get those at Country Craft Creations too. But that would take up the whole thing, and I think, and burnishing it down well will make the score tape stay adhered, I think, because it's one large sheet. So I would recommend doing it that way if you don't want to do it this way. You know, I wonder. Oh, where's my little cups? I don't have one here. If I had a little cup here, I would just use that. Pour the glue into it. Although this works just fine. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and apply that. I'm going to scoot that over there. I'm going to try not to wipe my hands on my pants because I have a meeting to go to. And this does curl up a little bit, as you can see, but let's see if we can get it started. If not, then I will have to just go around it with the art glitter glue. It does dry very fast. It dries as fast as the art glitter glue. Let's see. But I don't like the way that I shouldn't have glued clear up to the edge. So I may have to think of something to kind of cover that little piece. Okay. So on the back, I think we'll just use the art glitter glue. On a big piece of paper like this one just dries way too fast. I want to turn it upside down. And I'm going to ask myself what I did with my paper. Oh dear, where did I put it, everybody? Oh my goodness. What did I do with it? Are we looking at it? Well, I have lost my piece of paper. Not under there. A lot of times I'll set things right back behind me. But I don't see it over there. Did I throw it away? No. Are you looking at it and you haven't told me yet? Oh my gosh. I don't know what I did with it. A front and a back cover, and now one of them disappeared. Oh, there it is. The dog must have grabbed it when she came in. Oh my goodness. It's clear over there. 5 feet away from me. Okay. All right. This one is going to go on this direction. The only reason I'm turning it upside down is to get it closer to me here. Hopefully I'll get this one on straighter. I had to squeeze it out in a big long thing because it had a little catch in it. Okay, one of my big goals for this year is to stay in the camera. Be a better videographer, or whatever you call them. It's hard to stay in the camera because when we craft, we bring things as close to us as we can to put them together as best as we can. And if we have to put them far away from us, it's a little different. Okay, I'm good here and there. Good there, there, there. Excuse me. I have to cough a little bit. Okay, look at that. Alrighty, next, back to the front, back to this doodad. And that is just a button I bought at Hobby Lobby. I have to find my little haul. Well, I guess I'll have to use this one. So there it is. Punching that hole in there in the paper. Let's go ahead and make a mark on this one as well. Oh, there's my other awl. I like the other one better because it's a little sharper. There it is. Yay! Okay, so let's insert this wire into here. Make sure that it's going to lay flat, and it does. Pull it back out. Put lots of glue on there. Well, it doesn't need to be lots, but wouldn't hurt to put some down inside. Okay. That glue will dry clear. Okay, now this is where we want to be sure that we get these down nice and tight and flat. Tool. Aha. Oh, no, not that one. Not that one. Well, we'll use, oh, here it is. Okay. So I'm using wire because I want it to, I wanted to make it easy on myself, for one. Now, the one thing that we can do is, we can start a little ring on it here. Am I on camera? All I'm doing is making just a wound up ring. I'm not bunching it over it. I want it to stay flat as possible. Work on this side. Once you get it large enough, you can just wrap it with your fingers. You want to get it up pretty close, and then we're going to make sure it's not over itself. We don't want wire on top of wire. And I'm going to glue this down here. And I am going to score tape it. Now I'm going to make this one go the opposite direction. It just makes a nice loop that we know can't slip back through that hole at some point when the album is being handled, or normally I would do this with the needle nose pliers, That would work much better if you have those. This one, I didn't twist in far enough. And normally I would use like 2 tools at once to help me do all this stuff neatly. I've got wire on top of wire there. The reason I don't want them on top of each other is because it will make it too bulky. Let's try going this way. I'm too far away from my project. I guess it doesn't matter which way it goes. Okay. Just make sure it's nice and flat. And you can kind of flatten out the wire a little bit. Don't press so much that it breaks the wire. Just kind of work the wire a little bit till it flattens out good. Okay, so we've got a nice little decorative thing there. And now we're going to put score tape over that. Now I only have 1/2 inch and 1/2 inch and I don't have a 3/4 inch. So I'm going to cut a larger piece of this score tape to put over that. I want to be sure the wires are covered completely. Okay. And I am going to put glue around this. What type do I want? I think maybe I want this kind of glue with the wire. Once I put this on there, I want to clamp it with a clamp. So I'm going to go ahead and put this down. I'm going to use my bone folder to get all the way around that wire and get this tape down really well. It'll look like it's coming up, but it's a paper covering that's coming up off the tape. Okay, now that we have that, wipe away excess glue. Take a little wax paper piece and put on there. And we'll see if this will clamp next to the edges. Oh, it doesn't really want to. Nope, not going to work. Can't quite reach around that thing. Well, we'll just hope it holds really good. Okay, now let's go to this part. Now we did enough of this so that our binder can grow with pictures in it or journaling, whatever you want to put in it. And what we want, I'm gonna fussy cut it at the wrong end. You're probably, but I need to find a center. Forgive me here. And this we're going to put back here. Ooh. And it looks like maybe I needed to punch a little larger hole for this one. Oh, there it goes. Okay. We're there. Okay. So for this one, am I there? You can see I've punched it through there. We are going to put, how shall we do that? Do we do wire like we did before? Or do we just glue it down? If we do wire, it can come back out pretty good. We can't really tie a knot on it because, oh, I know what to use. Now the other thing we could do, we do have keys in this. We do have keys that we could use to cover it on top of the paper, but that's not what I was thinking about. I was thinking about this. These bulb safety pins. There's a nice little silver one in there. You know what I love about this? That you get them from the sewing department is they come in a little box. So you don't just have to throw them in your drawers. Of course, the boxes are always taped up so nicely. Okay. Now those are quite thin. I don't know if the Tim Holtz ones are a little less thin. Okay. If we take this bulb pin and we put it on there, and we can get rid of the bulk of the ribbon and leave the bulb pin, and we can tape it down with our score tape. But now I've lost that. Again, I'm going to cut the other half of that piece because I want a nice big swath of tape there. Okay, and I am going to put some more Fabri-Tac on it to glue this thing down. Flip it over that way. Going to put Fabri-Tac around that. And I'm not going to wipe that on my jeans today. I probably will. I'll probably do it before you know it. Going to apply that and burnish it down as best as I can. This will get disguised with whatever we put on the back here. So we won't have to worry about that. Okay. So now, let's see, we need something in there to make it look like it's stuffed. Then you bring this up, and it is a little too long right now. I realize that. But it will tie up here in a nice little bow, and I learned this from the Scrap Queen. She makes some of the most beautiful covers ever. But we'll have our nice little bow up here, and that'll look really nice. What do you think? I can't hardly look up and see you guys today because my back, my neck and my right shoulder are in a muscle spasm, and this is like, oh gosh, I don't know how many days. It's been way too long. So anyway, we will cut some of that off. Okay. What the heck happened there? Must have got caught on something. Let's just put it back down. Okay. Now, whoops. Let's get rid of some of these things. Recycle, garbage. Back in the drawer. Glue cover 1. Glue cover 2. All right. So that brings us to the center of our book on the inside of our spine. Okay, so I have cut a piece of paper. I think this is it. I cut lots of papers. I don't know where I'm picking up all this pink. Unless it's still on here from when we... No, don't know. Not going to worry about it right now. But I'm picking up pink. Let's see. I think that needs to be a little bit bigger. I mean, it could go right to there. That would be all right. That would make it even. Okay, so this one I cut at 8 by 8.5. Well, no, don't listen to that number. 8 3/8 by 8 inches. It's because we have a large spine here. It probably did not need to be this big, but who knows. We're going, if we have to, we'll add an extra page. And we are going to glue this on the center of this. And then we're going to work our spine a little bit. It's not over here, it's up here. So that we work this paper down into it. Now, it is recommended to use a large sheet of score tape on this because once it creases, it holds to the tape. So let's see how wide. Wide enough. So let's go ahead and cut a length of score tape. And to do that, I'm going to flip my book around. No, I'm just leaving it this way. Oh boy. Putting up with me today, aren't you? I'm going to bring it down a little bit because I know that I'm going to use glitter glue, art glitter glue, around the edges of the paper. Okay, we don't need that section right down there because that might actually get in the way. Okay, let's burnish this down. And we're going to burnish it into these areas where the book bends. Because that's where we want our tape to get down into, is those areas. Flip this around. Okay. Sorry about sniffling my nose. My ruler does not go in there. Let's go ahead and peel this off. Garbage. And we are going to go all the way around the edges. Whoops, went off the edge and glued my finger. You notice I'm still using glue. All the way across. Okay, now. Just trying to center that as best as I can. Sorry if my head's in your way. I don't mean for it to be, but sometimes I've got to see over top of this stuff. Okay. Like I said, if you're using a paper that gets glossy, this is going to get covered up anyway. But if you're using a paper that gets glossy and you don't like that, this is the time to cover that other piece of paper with another piece of paper that is like a scrap or something like that. Now, you might have to burnish it down into these areas a little bit around that spine if you use the thick binding like I did. Because my binding was so thick with that stuff on it, it made this a little thicker than it normally would be. if we had just used paper. So carefully work that down in there. Doesn't have to be perfect. You don't want to tear it. If we tear it, then we're going to have to put a new piece of paper on over this one, because we'll never get this out. So let's see, I think that needs a little more glue in it. That will help work the paper a little better. The glue is wet, so it gets into the paper, and then the paper forms better around everything else. Okay, and there we have it. Can't bend it all the way over like I'd like to. I do see that this one is coming up though, so I'm going to squirt a little glue in there. And just work it a little better. Oh, I see. It's coming up a little bit right there. And there we go. So far, so good. And there we are. So our next part that we're going to work on are the front inside. Now we'll probably just use one sheet of paper here. We don't need to put the white down because we're going to put some other color over it. However, I think maybe I'll go ahead and glue an cover under this. You don't need to because it will go, but it'll cover up some of these extra paper lines here. So I'm going to cut a piece of white paper that will fit from up here clear over. Oh, look, there's that pink again. Darn it. I have pink somewhere. Pink, pink, pink. I just don't know where it's, maybe it's coming from that. Don't know. Okay, I'm going to cut this paper offline, off camera, and I'll cut the 2 pieces of white paper, and then I will also cut the inside paper that I'm going to use, and I'll get that inked up, and then I'll get back to you. I have a meeting I have to go to, so I had better get ready for that. Oh, this is going to be so pretty. I know I said I was going to let you go. But, okay. Now, I'm back to this. Isn't that pretty? See, it didn't matter what was over there. Because once we get here, it's just beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. What do you think? Oh, I wish I could hear your voices. Sometimes I think I can. Anyway, little of this, and some spine jewelry. Getting those insides done. Ooh, yummy. We're getting close. We have 2 pages left to do after we get this spine in and get our front and back covers, and we'll make them as easy as possible. How's that sound? I'll try to be easy. I'll really try hard. Okay, I don't know why that wrinkled up. I don't like that. Maybe there was not enough glue there. That's where the tape is, though. It might be that I had dried glue in the way, and it's just over the dried glue. Anyway, okay, I'm going to let you go for now, and I will be back in short order. Okay? All right. See you when I get back. Bye-bye.